This is Brian Putt. Thank you for joining me on this last video regarding the Lone Star Drilling Opportunity Assessment. In this video we're going to talk about how reserves play into the decision policy, and at the end we'll ask you to make a call on what decision you're going to make. I hope you've enjoyed this series. Let me know what you think. Thank you. So here I'm plotting the resource, the resource, million cubic feet, versus the value creation, or the NPV above the 0.3 PI line. Remember we talked about that for these 3 points. So here's MJ1. And what we saw was that when you did MJ2 on an expected value basis, the NPV went down, or the value creation went down. Remember, it was a little bit lower relative to the 0.3 line. But the resource goes way up. So that becomes a value measure of whether you'd be willing to give up that much NPV to basically double the resource, right? And then when we do it with information on both MJ1 and MJ2, we get a little bit less resource, not much, but a much higher value creation. And then here is the real difficult question. Which of these two you want? So are you willing to give up this much NPV above the 0.3 DPI to save this much capital? Are you willing to give up 0.3 NPV, 0.6 to 0.3, 0.6 to 0.3, to increase the resource from 12 to 16.7, from 12 to 16.7? So I'll ask you as decision makers, what would you do with this resource? There's no right answer here. It has to do with your risk preferences and what you're willing to do. Maybe what your priorities are. It may have to do with, hate to say it, but what are your performance measures for you as an individual? Maybe you're the business unit manager or the asset manager for this. Do you feel a need to develop the biggest resource possible? Because you say, well, I don't know what the economics are going to be. I'm not going to be here next year. I'm going to be moving on to my next project. So one of the problems we have in large companies is how you define those value measures that apply across all the company. Because you can't have some people being very risk adverse and others being risk taking. You need to have a pretty consistent risk tolerance here across the company. If you want to get some more information on SIP math, or maybe about the whole process here, you can visit probabilitymanagement.org, read the flaw of averages. Then I have a YouTube channel that covers a lot of different subjects using SIP math. It covers cost and schedule risk analysis. That's a low-hanging fruit with a lot of companies. They just don't do it from a risk perspective. They just do a single deterministic cost and a single deterministic schedule and find out that both of those are radically wrong. The channel also covers portfolio analysis. There's many other presentations on the value of information. And then there's some fun problems just to think about. There's the birthday problem. Typically they talk about how many people in a class of 30, how many people might have the same birthday? What's the chance that 2 people have the same birthday? Those that might remember, let's make a deal. There's 3 doors, and you have to pick one, and there's a big prize behind one, and a booby prize behind another, and you get to see one, then you have a chance to change doors. There's a frog problem, a taxi cab problem. You can look those up on my YouTube channel. Let me also comment that this SIP math that I talked about, there's a free version of it that's available from Probability Management, not a trial. totally free version that you can do an awful lot with, 80% of what you might need to do probabilistically, and replaces the crystal ball at risk that might be available. But this is free, and there's other advantages around the software because it's transferable. The whole model is transferable to others, and they can change the model. And if you are interested in getting a copy of my model here, it might take a little bit of explanation, but I'm happy to share the model with you. You can reach me at brian@theputz.com. So if there's no other questions, I want to thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.